The sky was not blue anymore. It had turned gray, filled with thick smoke and black clouds. Pieces of metal and burning stone fell from the sky like rain. The beautiful planet Virelia, once full of green forests and floating crystal cities, was now silent and broken. In the middle of this destroyed world, a small girl walked slowly through the ashes. Her name was Kira. She was not human. Her skin was light blue and soft, her eyes big and glowing like stars. Two small antennae on. Her head moved slightly as she listened for danger. She was only 7 years old. She had not seen her family in days. Her mother had hidden her deep inside a supply crate when the machines attacked. Kira remembered the fear in her mother's voice. "Stay here. Be strong. Someone will come. Someone good." That was the last time she saw her. The machines were called the Zarkari Swarm. They were not alive. They did not feel. They did not care. They came from beyond the stars, stealing energy, destroying cities, and taking everything. They said nothing. They had no faces, just red lights and metal bodies. Kira had been hiding ever since. Every day she searched for food in the ruins. Sometimes she found a broken can of fruit or a piece of dried bread. She drank rainwater collected in bent metal cups. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her small feet were bare. But she kept walking, hoping, listening. Hope was a strange thing. Sometimes it felt strong, like a warm light inside her. Other times it felt like a small candle in a storm, ready to go out. She wanted to believe someone would come. Someone kind. Someone who was not a machine. One evening, as the sky turned dark purple, she sat under a broken transport ship. Her body was cold, but she hugged herself tightly. The stars above looked far away, like they didn't care what was happening below. She whispered to them anyway. "Please, if anyone hears me, I'm still here." Suddenly, her antennae twitched. A sound. A low humming noise, different from the loud roar of the Zarkari machines. It was soft, like an old engine. Kira crawled out from under the ship and peeked toward the noise. A small spacecraft was landing nearby. She froze. Was it another machine? A new kind of hunter? Should she run? Then, the ship's door opened slowly. With a hiss, a tall figure stepped out. Not metal, not glowing red. This being wore a dark jacket, boots, and a helmet with a glass faceplate. Kira squinted. The being took off the helmet, and she saw a face. A human. He looked tired, with short dark hair and sharp eyes. He had a short beard and a scar across one cheek. He looked around the wreckage, holding a scanner in one hand and a tool bag in the other. He did not see her yet. Kira took a step back. Her heart raced. She had never seen a human in real life, only in videos from before the war. Were they kind? Were they safe? She didn't know. But something in his eyes looked different from the machines. He looked sad. She made a small noise by accident, a soft click with her foot. The human turned. He raised a small device, maybe a weapon. "Who's there?" he called out in a deep voice. "I'm not here to fight. Show yourself." Kira stayed hidden behind a broken wall. She was too scared to answer, but her small hand was shaking, and a small piece of metal slipped from her fingers, falling with a clink. He stepped closer. His eyes were careful but not cruel. Then he saw her. She was crouched low, eyes wide, ready to run. She looked like a lost bird in a storm. The human slowly lowered his tool and knelt down. He placed his hand on the ground, palm up. "It's okay," he said gently. "You don't have to be afraid." Kira didn't understand the words, but the tone was soft. She stared at the hand. It was big, rough, but still. She took one slow step forward, then another, and then she reached out. Her tiny hand touched his, warm, alive, not a machine. For the first time in days, her heart felt something new. Not fear, not hunger. Hope, the human's. Hand was warm and steady. Kira felt a strange calm wash over her. something she hadn't felt in a long time. The ruins around them still smoldered, but for a moment, everything seemed quiet. The man smiled faintly, his tired eyes softening. "I'm Roran," he said. "What's your name?" Kira didn't know how to speak the human words yet. She looked up at him with her big glowing eyes and whispered, "Kira." Roran nodded slowly. "Kira. That's a beautiful name." The eye. Girl hesitated, then took a small step forward. She touched the worn fabric of his jacket, curious. The jacket smelled like oil and smoke, but also like safety. Roran noticed her small fingers trembling. "You're cold," he said. "Come here." He took off his jacket and wrapped it gently around Kira's small shoulders. She shivered but felt warmth spread through her body. "Can you walk?" Roran asked carefully. Kira nodded. She wanted to say more, but her throat was dry and her voice weak. Roran looked around. "We need to find food and water. You must be hungry." Kira's stomach growled loudly and she nodded again. The ruins were dangerous. Broken machines and traps were everywhere. The Zarkari might still be close, but Roran was careful. He held her hand firmly and moved with steady steps through the rubble. "Where are your people?" Roran asked gently. Kira's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. She didn't want to remember. Her voice barely a whisper, she said, "Gone." Roran's face tightened. He knew what that meant. The Zarkari had destroyed everything, homes, families, futures. They reached a broken building, once a market. Roran opened a small pack and pulled out some rations, dried fruit and water pouches. He handed a piece of fruit to Kira. She took it carefully and tasted it. The sweet flavor was strange, but good. She smiled, a tiny light in the dark world. Roran watched her closely. "You're brave," he said softly. "Very brave." Kira looked at him confused. "Brave?" He nodded. "Yes. You survived. You're still here. That is bravery." They stayed in the ruins for a little while longer. Roran fixed a small device he had found, an old translator. It was slow and broken, but it helped them share simple words. He showed her how to say friend, safe, and hope. Kira repeated them quietly, learning with a child's patience. Suddenly a loud noise broke the quiet. Drones, small flying machines, buzzed nearby. Their red eyes scanned the ruins, searching. Roran grabbed Kira's hand. "We must move. Now." He led her to a hidden tunnel entrance beneath a collapsed wall. The dark hole smelled of earth and old metal. They climbed down carefully. Inside, the air was cool and still. Kira hugged Roran's side, her small hand tight in his. "Will they find us?" she asked. Roran shook his head. "Not if we're smart." They crawled through the tunnel until they reached a small underground chamber. Roran lit a small lamp and the soft glow filled the room. Kira sat down, exhausted. She leaned against the rough wall. Roran sat beside her, looking tired but alert. He checked his tools and supplies. "We need a plan," he said. "You can't stay here alone." Kira looked at him with wide eyes. "I don't want to be alone." "It won't be," Roran promised. "I'm not leaving you." Kira felt a warm light inside her chest. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust again. Roran thought about his own past. He was once a soldier, fighting in wars far from here. He had lost many friends, and his own daughter. The memory hurt, but meeting Kira gave him new strength. He smiled faintly and said, "Tomorrow we find a way off this world. Together." Kira looked up at the lamp's flickering light. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. And maybe, just maybe, hope was real. The next morning, pale light seeped through cracks in the stone walls of the small underground chamber. Kira woke first. She rubbed her eyes and looked around. The soft glow of the lamp still burned, casting gentle shadows. Roran was already awake, checking the small supplies he had carefully saved. Kira stood up and stretched her small arms. Her blue skin was cold from the night's chill. She shivered, then remembered the warmth of Roran's jacket from the day before. She smiled softly. "Good morning," she said quietly. Roran looked up and smiled, a real one this time. "Good morning, Kira. Did you sleep well?" Kira nodded slowly. She did not have words for everything, but her eyes said yes. Roran pulled out the small translator device. "Let's practice again," he said. "Say friend." "Friend," Kira repeated, her voice soft but sure. "Good. Now safe." "Safe." "Hope." Kira struggled with the word but tried. Hope." Roran laughed gently. "Perfect." They spent the morning talking in small, broken words, building a bridge between their worlds. After breakfast, a few more rations Roran had saved, they prepared to leave the underground chamber. The ruins above were dangerous. The Zarkari drones still searched for survivors and time was short. Roran took Kira's small hand in his. "Ready?" She nodded, her heart pounding. Together they climbed back through the tunnel and into the broken world above. The sun was high, but the sky was still gray with smoke. Kira blinked at the harsh light. She had not seen sunlight like this in a long time. As they moved through the ruins, Roran told her stories. Stories about Earth, about stars, and about humans who fought for kindness and hope. Kira listened, amazed by the strange world the human described. She wanted to believe that not all beings were like the Zarkari, cold, dark, and cruel. Suddenly, a sound made them stop. A group of scavengers appeared, moving slowly across the rubble. They were humans, like Roran, but their faces were hard and suspicious. One of them noticed Kira. His eyes narrowed. "Is that a Virelian?" he asked. The others muttered among themselves. Some looked angry. The Zarkari had made many enemies, and fear had grown strong. Roran stepped forward. "She is with me," he said firmly. The scavengers stared. One man laughed bitterly. "Taking an alien child? You want trouble." Kira's hand tightened on Roran's. She felt small and scared again. But Roran did not back down. "She's just a child. She needs help." The scavengers grumbled but did not attack. They knew Roran was a skilled fighter, once a soldier. After a tense moment, they turned away, muttering warnings. Roran breathed out slowly. "We can't stay here." He led Kira toward his ship, a small craft hidden in the debris. As they walked, Kira looked up at him with questions. "Why do they fear me?" she asked quietly. Roran knelt down to her level. "Because they don't understand you, and sometimes fear makes people act in wrong ways." Kira frowned. "I don't want to scare anyone." "You don't," Roran said softly. "You are special, and we will show them that." At the ship, Roran opened the hatch and helped Kira inside. The inside was small but warm. It smelled like metal and old stories. Roran checked the controls. "We need to get off Virelia. The Zarkari will keep coming, but there is a place, a station where no one fights. Maybe we can find help there." Kira looked around the cabin. It was a strange new home, but she felt safe. Roran started the yaw engine. The ship lifted slowly, leaving the broken planet behind. As they flew through the dark space, Kira leaned against the window, watching the stars. They twinkled softly, far away, but full of promise. Roran sat beside her. "You're not alone anymore," he said quietly. Kira smiled, a small light growing inside her. She held his hand tightly, knowing that for the first time, someone cared. Together, they flew toward hope. The stars outside the ship's window stretched endlessly. Kira watched them, with wide eyes, still feeling the strange excitement of leaving her broken home behind. For the first time, the sky was not filled with smoke but with distant points of light, planets, moons, and hope. Roran was focused on the ship's controls. The small craft, the Emberwake, was old but sturdy. It had carried him through many dangerous places. and now it was carrying Kira away from the ruins of Virelia. "We should reach the galactic fringe station by nightfall," Roran said. "It's neutral ground. No wars, no Zarkari." Kira nodded. She liked the sound of safe. The trip was not easy. The ship's engines groaned and small alarms beeped now and then. Roran checked the systems carefully, making small repairs as they went. He taught Kira how to watch the stars, how to listen to the hum of the engine, and how to stay calm when the ship shook. "You're doing good," he said, smiling. "For a little alien girl, you're brave." Kira smiled back, feeling stronger with each moment. Suddenly, a sharp warning beep broke the quiet. Roran's eyes widened. "Scan shows incoming ships. Zarkari, they found us." Kira's heart pounded. She looked at the glowing red blips on the screen. "They're fast," Roran said. "We need to move quickly. I'm going to try to lose them in the asteroid." Belt ahead. The ship shook as Roran pushed the engines to full power. Outside, jagged rocks floated in silence, an asteroid field, dangerous but perfect for hiding. Kira gripped Roran's hand tightly. "Stay close," he said. "I won't let them catch us." The Zarkari ships appeared behind them, sleek, dark, and glowing with red lights. They chased the Emberwake through the belt, weaving between giant rocks and burning debris. Roran's hands moved fast. He twisted the ship sharply to avoid a crashing asteroid, the hull scraping dangerously close. Kira felt the rush of fear and thrill mixed together. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. Her strange gift, her empathic power. She tried to feel the emotions of the Zarkari drones, hoping to sense their next move. To her surprise, she caught faint pulses, cold, sharp, angry. The drones were not just machines. They were linked by a shared mind. With a deep breath, Kira focused harder and sent a wave of calm hope into the swarm's signals. The red lights flickered and slowed. The drones hesitated. Roran noticed too. "What did you do?" Kira smiled shyly. "I made them pause." Roran shook his head in wonder. "You're amazing." Using the moment, Roran steered the ship through a narrow passage where the larger Zarkari ships could not follow. The swarm lost contact. Breathing heavily, Roran said, "That was close. Too close." Kira looked at him with trust. "We're safe now?" "For now," Roran answered. "But the Zarkari will keep hunting anyone who survived. We have to be ready." The rest of the trip was tense. Roran kept the ship quiet, avoiding signals and sensors. Kira stayed close, learning from him how to stay strong even when scared. At last, the Emberwake approached the galactic fringe station, a huge, shining hub where ships from many worlds gathered. The station was a beacon of peace in a violent galaxy. They docked the ship in a small bay. Roran helped Kira out, and the first thing she saw were faces, many different kinds of people, all looking tired but alive. Kira felt a new hope rising. Maybe here she could find friends. Maybe here she could find a home. But as they walked through the crowded station, whispers followed them. Some people stared at Kira with fear. Others looked away, suspicious. One man stepped forward. His eyes were cold. "Why are you bringing an alien here?" he asked Roran sharply. Roran stood tall. "She's a child. She needs help." The man sneered. "She could be dangerous. A Zarkari spy. We don't need trouble." Kira's small hand tightened on Roran's. She wanted to say she was not dangerous, but the word stuck in her throat. Roran looked around. The station was not as safe as it seemed. "We will stay here," Roran said firmly, "and we will prove that she is not a threat." A few others nodded quietly, watching. Kira looked up at Roran with hope. She was scared, but she was not alone. Together, they walked deeper into the station, ready to face whatever came next. The galactic fringe station was alive with noise and movement. Ships of every shape and size docked and departed, their engines humming and lights flashing. Traders shouted prices, mechanics worked on broken parts, and travelers of all kinds hurried through narrow halls. But for Kira and Roran, The station felt cold and strange. Many eyes watched them as they moved. Some faces showed curiosity, others suspicion, and some even fear. Kira held tightly to Roran's hand. She didn't understand why people looked at her like she was something dangerous. She was just a little girl who wanted to be safe. Roran's jaw was tight. He had seen this before. Fear made people forget kindness. It made them hard and cruel. They found a small room in a quiet corner of the station. Roran hoped it would be a safe place to rest and plan their next move. But it was not long before trouble came. A group of men entered, their eyes cold and their voices sharp. They were part of the station's unofficial guards, tough men who kept order but often ruled with fear. One of them stepped forward. His face was rough, with a deep scar across his cheek. He looked at Kira and sneered. "What's this? Another alien? Bringing trouble here, are you?" he said to Roran. Roran stood up, his voice calm but firm. "She's just a child. She needs protection." The man laughed bitterly. "Protection? From what? You? We don't want troublemakers here." Kira shrank back, scared. Her small blue hands clenched into fists. Suddenly, another voice broke through the tension. "Leave them alone." An older man stepped forward. He was thin but strong, with kind eyes behind thick glasses. "I run this station," he said quietly but with authority. "This child has a right to stay." The guards hesitated, then backed away. Roran nodded gratefully. "Thank you." The older man introduced himself as Jalen, the station's manager. He explained that many people here had lost much in the wars and had learned to survive by being tough, sometimes too tough. But kindness still matters, Jalen said, especially to children. Over the next days, Kira and Roran stayed on the station trying to blend in. Roran searched for information about safe places where Kira could live without fear. But Kira noticed something strange. Many people on the station avoided her. They whispered about Zarkari spies and dangerous aliens. Fear was still strong. One evening, Kira found herself alone near a marketplace. She watched merchants shouting and buyers haggling. She reached out to a small stall, hoping to buy a toy with some coins Roran had given her. Suddenly, a man grabbed her arm roughly. "You don't belong here," he growled. "Aliens are not welcome." Kira tried to pull away, but he held her tight. Roran appeared quickly, his face dark with anger. "Let her go." The man sneered but released her. "Be careful. The Zarkari watch us all." Roran took Kira's hand and pulled her close. "We won't let fear win," he said. That night they talked quietly in their small room. "Why do people hate me?" Kira asked, tears in her eyes. Roran shook his head. "They don't understand you. They are afraid of what they don't know." Kira looked out the small window at the stars. "I want to be safe. I want friends," she whispered. Roran smiled gently. "And you will. We just have to show them who you really are." The next day, Roran met with Jalen again. They talked about making the station a better place for everyone, humans and aliens alike. Jalen nodded thoughtfully. "It won't be easy. Fear is strong, but maybe with time things can change." Roran looked at Kira, who was watching from a distance, her small hands folded in hope. Together, they began to plan, a place where Kira could live, learn and grow without fear. A place where humans and aliens could stand together. Because sometimes, even in the darkest places, a little light can start to shine. Roran and Kira had barely begun to settle at the Galactic Fringe Station when they learned that the Zarkari were closing in again. Despite the temporary peace, the machines hunted survivors relentlessly. The station's quiet hum was soon interrupted by urgent warnings. Jalen met with Roran in a small, dimly lit room, filled with star charts and communication equipment. "They are coming," Jalen said grimly. "The Zarkari are not far. They won't stop until everything is destroyed." Roran's eyes narrowed. "We need a better plan. This station can't protect her forever." Kira listened nearby, her small hand gripping a piece of cloth. She felt a familiar fear creeping in, but this time she wasn't alone. Roran had an idea. There's an old orbital lab called Bastion Theta, he explained. It was used long ago for planetary work. It's far from the main trade routes, hard to find, and strong enough to protect us. Jalen nodded slowly. It's dangerous. The lab is old, with broken systems and no easy way inside. But it might be our best chance. Roran looked at Kira, his voice steady. We're going there, to build a sanctuary. Kira's eyes brightened. Sanctuary? Safe place, Roran said. A home where no one will hurt you. They prepared quickly. Roran repaired the ember wake for the long trip, and Kira practiced her words on the small translator. She learned home, peace, and together. The day they left the station, a crowd gathered. Some people wished them luck, others watched with suspicion. Jalen came forward. Be careful. This journey will not be easy. Roran nodded. We'll return with hope. The trip to Bastion Theta was tense. The stars outside were cold and distant. But Kira reached out with her gift, her empathic touch, and felt a gentle warmth in Roran's steady presence beside her. When they arrived, the station was dark and silent. Bastion Theta floated like a ghost in the void, its metal walls scarred by time. Roran piloted the ship carefully through the damaged airlock. Inside, dust-covered broken machines and empty halls. It's not much now, Roran said. But it can be rebuilt. They started working immediately. Roran fixed the power systems. Kira explored quietly, her small hands brushing dust from ancient control panels. At night, they sat in the main chamber lit by emergency lights. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the station. Outside, sensors showed a swarm of Zarkari drones approaching. We're not alone, Roran said grimly. They found us. Kira's heart raced, but she stood tall. Roran took her hand. We fight, together. With old weapons and new courage, they prepared for the battle. Kira used her empathic power to confuse the drones, sending waves of calm hope that slowed their attacks. Roran and a small group of allies from the station fought fiercely. Metal clashed and sparks flew in the dark halls. At the worst moment, when it seemed the swarm would break through, Kira reached out with all her strength. Her mind touched the swarm's network, flooding it with feelings it could not understand. Kindness, peace, hope. The drones faltered, their red eyes flickering. Roran pushed forward, rallying the defenders. The Zarkari withdrew, retreating into the dark space. The battle was won. But Roran was hurt. He leaned against a wall, breathing heavily. Kira rushed to his side, her small hand on his cheek. You saved me, she whispered. Roran smiled weakly. No, Kira. You saved us all. Days passed as they repaired Bastion Theta. More survivors came, drawn by the story of the brave little alien girl and the human who would not give up. Together, they built more than walls and machines. They built a new family, a beacon of hope in a broken galaxy. The quiet after the battle was heavy, but filled with a new kind of light. Bastion Theta, once forgotten and dark, now hummed with life. Survivors moved through the halls, repairing, rebuilding, and dreaming of a better future. Kira sat near a window watching the stars drift past. Her small hand rested gently on Roran's. The warmth between them was more than comfort. It was a promise. Roran's face was tired, marked by the fight and his wounds, but his eyes shone with something new. Hope. You did something no one else could, he said softly. You reached into the heart of the swarm and brought them to pause. That is more than power. It is something special. Kira looked up at him, blinking slowly. I just wanted to help. Roran smiled. And you did. You helped everyone. Days passed and the new community grew. Humans and aliens, survivors of war and loss, came together. They shared stories, food, and laughter. Fear slowly faded, replaced by trust. But the galaxy, beyond, was still dangerous. The Zarkari were not gone. They would return if given a chance. One evening, As the twin suns of a nearby star set beyond the station's windows, alarms sounded. Roran stood quickly. Incoming ships. Kira's heart raced, but she didn't feel the old fear. Instead, she squeezed Roran's hand. "We are ready," she said quietly. Outside, Zarkari cruisers appeared again. The battle was about to begin. Roran and the defenders prepared, but Kira stepped forward. She closed her eyes and reached deep into her empathic power. This time, she did more than confuse the enemy. She spoke to them, not with words, but with feelings. Hope. Peace. The memory of kindness. The Zarkari drones faltered, their attack weakening. Their red lights blinked uncertainly. Roran watched in awe. "You are changing them, changing the war." Kira opened her eyes and smiled. Maybe not all are lost. The enemy ships withdrew, leaving Bastion Theta safe once more. The battle had shown something incredible. Even in the darkest moments, connection and hope could shine through. After the fight, a gathering was held. Leaders from many worlds came to witness the courage of Kira and the unity she inspired. Roran stood beside her as she spoke through the translator. "We are all different," she said simply, "but we can live together, help each other, be one, family." The crowd was silent, then began to cheer. Roran lifted Kira's hand high. "This little girl taught us the greatest lesson of all, that hope is stronger than fear, that kindness can defeat even the darkest machines, that humanity is not just a word, it is a choice." Kira looked around at the faces, then back at Roran. She placed her small hand in his once more. Together, they reached out to the stars, and the galaxy listened.